In this video, I want to talk about something that's really, really important and that's near and dear to my heart, and that's emotional health. I want to tell you about me. I am a repressor and a suppressor. That means there are so many things that happened to me in my childhood that I waited until I was much older to talk about. There was abuse that occurred. There were misunderstandings that occurred. There were things that happened that should never have occurred at my age. And so I want to talk to you about emotional health. I want to talk to you about not keeping it in. I want to talk to you about reclaiming your emotional strength. And I want to let you know that real men process pain, hurt, disappointment, rejection, and they do not hold it in. So what's the first thing we want to talk about when we talk about repressing? When we talk about repressing, we want to talk about not bottling it in. Stop bottling in your feelings. You were created to be expressive. You were created to have an outlet to show forth your feelings, to show forth who you are on the inside. Because who you are on the inside, there's both glory and ruin to who you are on the inside. There's glory because Genesis 1:26 says, when God created man, he created man in his own image, and after his likeness created he him. And so if you are created after God's image and after God's likeness, then that means that the world needs the image and likeness of God. And if they need the image of likeness and likeness of God, they need to get it from you, just like they need to get it from everybody else who's created in God's image. It's called the Imago Dei, meaning it's the whole basis by which we base civil rights and human rights, that everyone has intrinsic value and dignity and worth. So do you. So stop bottling it in. Stop suppressing your emotions. If you suppress your emotions, it leads to anxiety, irritability, mood changes, and you don't want that. You're aggravating other people in your life, and it's something that's preventable. I know why you're not speaking about it. I know why you're not communicating about it. It's the same reason that I don't communicate about the things that happened to me, or the things that happened to me that make me angry or make me discouraged or make me frustrated. It's because of shame. It's because of guilt. It's because you feel if you divulge that thing, that somebody's going to look at you in a judgmental way for divulging that thing. I'm not going to get too much into shame and guilt in this video because I've got more things to say about it in a more long form video. But I want to tell you that shame and guilt and embarrassment are things that have men in jail or dead or not living the life that they were intended to live, or strung out on different types of substances. It's the embarrassment and the shame and guilt of not opening up and saying how they feel. So I don't want that for you. Open up, stop bottling it in. The next thing I want to talk about is naming your emotions. And this is very, very difficult for men. This is tough for us because, you know, we often joke that men have probably 2 or 3 emotions. We either sad, glad, or mad, right? One of those 3, and we never tend to think about the range of emotions that men are to have. And because we don't show the range of emotions to our partners, because we don't show the range of emotion to our spouses, our wives, our children, then we limit ourselves to this very small box of who people think that we are. And we are much more than that. We are much more unique than that. And so I want to let you know that you can, if you can name your emotions, you can tame your emotions. You can get under control. There's a scripture that I think often about, and I think it's in the book of Proverbs, that it says, it is better, or it's easier for a man to conquer a whole city than it is to tame his tongue, to tame what he says, to control his emotions, to harness the necessary anger the necessary vitriol, the necessary rage, right? When something happens to you initially, it might feel like rage, and it's hot, and it's anger, particularly depending on what you're going through. That rage, when unchecked, leads to destruction. But that rage is part of who you are. So if you can tamper that rage down to anger, and then tamper that anger down to productive fuel for what you need in your life, then you will win. And so, name your emotions. All right, sad emotions aren't the same thing as angry emotions, aren't the same thing as depressed, isn't the same thing as anxiety. Let's be specific. Let's name what we have so that we can get help for it, we can conquer it, and we can be those men that we need to be. I know you can do it. I know you're sitting there watching me and you're thinking about this, and you've been wanting to try to take care of this or handle it or tackle it, and you just don't know how. I'm here. We're here as a collective men and community to help you with this. And you will conquer this. You'll get over this. I guarantee you that you will. Create safe emotional outlets is the last thing I wanted to say. Don't be afraid to talk to somebody who is in your circle, even if it's someone who's not in your circle. I have found some of the greatest advisors and the greatest teachers coming from people that I don't even know very well. You'd be surprised if you are in a place where you're like, man, I don't have a lot of friends. I don't have a lot of confidants. I don't have a lot of guys in my life or in my space or in my circle who will keep me accountable, who will tell me what I need to hear. If you're in that space, step out of your comfort zone. Walk up to a man who you see, who you think might be able to help you. I mean, we do it in the gym all the time. You don't know how to do an exercise. What do? You walk over to somebody and say, hey, bro, listen, man, I'm trying to do these curls. I don't know if I got the right form. Can you check me out, judge me, make sure I'm good to go? Why, when you do the same thing in life, it's much more important, right? We already talked about physical health in one of our other videos, but this is your emotional health. Hey, man, listen, I need somebody to talk to, or else I feel like I'm going to explode. You know, I've been carrying around these thoughts. I've been carrying around this rage. I've been carrying around this anger. I've been carrying around this secret, and I don't know who to tell it to because there's nobody in my life who I'm close enough to. You'd be surprised walking up to somebody who you don't know very well, what they might offer and what they might be able to give and how they might have resources to help you out. So don't be afraid. Create safe emotional outlets. Talk to someone you want to pray. Journal. I use voice notes. You know, when there's things on my mind, I pop out my phone, I say it, use voice notes, and they turn into journal notes. And just remember, in order to be emotionally seen, you don't have to be bleeding all over the place. You actually can heal. Okay? This is a very important video. I hope you got something out of it. Most importantly, if you are somebody who's sitting there and you're thinking about harming yourself, or you're thinking about doing something that is not beneficial to you, if you're thinking about suicide, if you're thinking about taking your life, I've got a link down in the bottom of the show notes that can help. And I'm pretty sure that there are other people in your life, and there's self-help. In this particular video here, I'm going to drop more links than that one. I'll provide a list of therapy services, mental health services, and resources that you can latch onto and tap into, because we want you here. We want you to be around, and want you to be emotionally healthy. All right. That's all for this one. And I want to encourage you who are watching right now. I want to encourage you that man who feels like nobody understands his emotions, that man who feels like, you know, he's on the tip. You're right there, right? If somebody says something to you, I mean, it might be somebody saying like, you know, your foot's in the wrong spot, or your hand, you know, like you're gonna snap, right? I'm talking to you. I'm talking to that dude. You don't have to snap. There's help. There's hope. There's healing, and you can find it today. I believe it's in Jesus Christ. Other people have different spiritual mannerisms that or spiritual methodologies or spiritual beliefs. I believe it's in Jesus Christ, and we're going to do a spiritual video as well. But I want you to know that there's hope. You do not have to do this. God is here. Other men are here, and there's help for you. All right, that's all for this one. And as I always say, live royally and live well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.